Here we are. Hey guys, hope you guys are doing good. Looks like we have, let's see how many people we have right now. We've got, looks like we got 13 on and people are still joining. We've got our people from Spine Ticks. We got Sean Miller, Stephen M. We got the lovely Amy. Copy 801, Lon, welcome. Chase, what's up? What is going on? And so, guys.
Austin, Tony Chambretta, Cobra Commando.
Ooh wee, nice. Yeah, it looks like everybody's popping up now. Thank you guys. Thank you so very much, man. We appreciate you guys coming on the show tonight. We are broadcasting live from Alaska's Comic Book Shop, and we are broadcasting to simultaneously YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So let's see here. Yeah, it looks like you guys all coming on here little by little. We appreciate you. Hey, Austin, what's going on, my man? Good to see you, Austin. Holy cow. And let's see. Amy, you good there?
Probably tell everyone. Yeah, you should probably tell everyone I'm on the phone because they're probably wondering why they can hear me and not see me.
Our lawyers told us to shut off her camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Austin has a protective order. Austin's mom has a protective order against Amy, so she has to stay off camera. But we have an awesome guest tonight. We're going to do a quick shout out to our sponsors and go right into this craziness. So here's a special shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsors, The Awakening Espresso, located next to us here in downtown Wasilla. EGS Comics Grading Services, our preferred comic grading service here at the shop. Michael Ray Photography, our first choice for cosplay, boudoir, and family photo shoots. Frosted Axe Throwing, when you need to unleash your inner savage, with locations in Anchorage and Eagle River. Schedule your event today. And you can represent with our Aegis Comics swag. Visit our swag shop today and don't miss out on that gear. And you can support the channel with Patreon. And don't forget to subscribe to our Instagram, because we're hysterical.
Ladies, do you want to look awesome in a pair of Aegis leggings? Well, make sure when you order a size larger than you normal wear so you don't look like a busted can of biscuits. You never know what someone will look like in one of these pairs of leggings.
And guys, without further ado, we have Miss Christina Merkler, the owner of Lunar Distribution, a co-owner of Lunar Distribution. How are you tonight?
I'm good.
And I hope we didn't scare you off.
No.
The night is young.
Yeah, the night is young. Give Amy time. She will scare you off there.
I'm very difficult to scare off, so try.
Oh, good. That's what I want to hear.
Like Animal from the Muppets, like just give it time, and then you're like, yo, this kid is crazy.
Oh my God. Well, we really appreciate your time. Appreciate you being on the show. I've got Olivia, one of our staff members here, who actually started off as one of our customers. Actually, all of our staff members were customers first, and they're all comic readers and comic lovers, but they're also, people. So that helps us out. And the reason we invited you on the show is because you're the newest distributor, but you're also the one that doesn't bring us to tears every time we receive a shipment. So we have to say that we are very appreciative of what you do and what you have done for the industry. So I wanted to start off real quick by, how did Lunar come about?
Okay. Well, we've owned DCBS it'll be 22 years next month. So we've obviously been a retailer for that long. And when we received the news that Diamond was going to be shutting down, we understandably freaked out because our state wasn't shut down. We knew many other retailer states weren't shut down, and everyone, I'm sure, did a quick calculation and said, how long are we going to be able to actually survive with Diamond being shut down? And then, I couldn't even tell you the timeline now because it was all kind of a blur. But at one point, DC reached out to us and just said, "Hey, can you help us out getting comics to the stores that are open?" And it really just started that way. And we said, "Yeah, let's figure it out." And 3 weeks later, we were fulfilling product for the stores that wanted to be taken care of. And that's just kind of how it started. It morphed from there, but that was that was the impetus behind the beginning of Lunar.
Well, you were definitely a lifesaver for us. I'm not saying that loosely. I mean, the fact that you guys were able to provide to us all the way up here in Alaska. I think we are your northernmost customer, with exception of maybe the comic shop, which is in Fairbanks.
Yes.
And we got to meet Randy and his staff a couple of days ago, actually, and they actually run a little distribution business themselves. They do the distribution for like all the cards and the Pokemon cards and that kind of stuff. He does that stuff because he's actually the oldest comic book shop in the state. He started in 1983. He was literally the first comic book shop up here. So. Man,
a good year. That's a good year.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's right, hon. Jesus, she's gonna remind me how I robbed the cradle. Okay, we're not gonna talk about that right now. We have guests. We have guest woman.
So I got into comics fairly recently, actually, only about the time that Aegis opened, and I'm definitely way more a reader than a collector. And so being able to get the comics up here, with Diamond shutting down, I was really worried because, so many series were still ongoing that I just needed to know what happened. Are you personally more of a collector or a reader like me?
I'm a reader. So Cameron, who's the co-owner with me, is a collector. He has collected since he was 6. I will not tell you his age because he will be fully offended, but he's 3 years older than me. But he's been collecting since the late 70s, and he's a total collector. Like, we have storage units full of his books. He puts them in my light too. So he's a very serious collector, and he's always been a DC guy, which is kind of ironic now that we distribute them. Great. He has been full DC ever since. Since he was a child. His first comic was Green Lantern. I hope I get this right. It was Green Lantern either 80 or 90, and then it was Superman, I think 203 or something like that. It was a Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. But I am the reader. So I don't care. I don't care what my books look like. I don't care if they're half the cover's ripped off. I just want to read it. I want to know what's going on, and I can hand it to somebody else and they can read it. So we actually are yin and yang in that respect in the business.
Wow.
So do you have a favorite ongoing series right now?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't read a comic in a year because I haven't had a time to breathe in a year. When Lunar first started, I was working 80-hour weeks, and I think I went 62 full days without a day off. It was brutal, and the mental health of me and anyone around me wasn't the best, but we got a lot of stuff done.
Right.
And so I really haven't had a chance to read anything. Let me think. I'm trying to think. Every once in a while, I'll be able to even read a PDF. I haven't even had time to do that. So I'm not proud of that, by the way, because I do like to know what's going on. But Cameron is the one who, every week, he reads all of the new DC releases, anything else. But he's pretty much. I think he really all he gets to is DC still, because of how busy we've been.
Well, I can't say enough. The courage that it took you guys to jump into this endeavor. I don't think people realize how big of a thing this was. You jumped into this crazy distribution responsibility where we weren't even at our peak. So, right now, what was it that motivated you, that truly kept you motivated to start an endeavor like this, where, like when we started, we're the newest kids on the block. We started off, there was 3,300 shops nationwide. There's currently, I think, 2,200. And I mean, what keeps you motivated to jump into an industry that, I mean, we can, as customers to a distributor, we can be assholes. Let's keep it real. I mean, we're pretty demanding about our books because our customers are demanding about, the condition of books and stuff. What keeps you motivated to do this?
I mean, from Cameron and I both come from a retail background. So we started in a department store, actually. So like we've always had that customer first mentality. And when we started, even in our little basement, when we initially started DCBS, it was all based on making sure that the customer was taken care of to the best of our ability. I mean, it was an endeavor, but like honestly, it was, we've got to figure something out, right? So it wasn't. When somebody comes to you that you want to help and you want, and really most retailers don't believe this. They think, it was some crazy, evil plan of ours to like get all of their information, which to me, I'm not sure what we would do with that information, because we don't do that. Like we run our business and we try to continue to grow our business like any other retailer. But when the distribution thing came up, it was like, look, we've got to help all these other shops out. Like, we don't want people going out of business. We want people, we don't want the industry as a whole to just, like just explode or implode, really. Like, we thought if this is what's going to help even 50% of shops be able to stay in business for how many ever months longer? Because, I mean, it's hard for us to remember now, right? It's been a year. But a year ago, we were looking at, we don't know how long this is going to last.
Right.
And what, and what it means. Like, it could have been a much bigger, worse scenario. So we were all just kind of just trying to figure it out. So we just thought, let's do it. And obviously, I mean, DC didn't make that decision lightly. But it was a very quick, it wasn't like we had 6 months like PRH does right now to figure things out. We had 3 weeks to onboard as many people, and and that was the other thing. We didn't know how many people it was going to be. It could have been 1,000. It could have been 30. But we built systems as quickly as we could. And the first thing that we thought is, okay, what are the things that we've heard in retailer summits, because we go to a lot of them, that people are asking for that maybe Diamond haven't been able to really like put within their system, because maybe it's too difficult to put in their system? Or what are the things that we as a retailer wish we had and have heard from other retailers that they wish they had? And so we tried to build that in initially with our system, and we're lucky because, we built it from the ground up. So we're able to, we don't have to patch things and figure out how to make it work within the system, like, because we made the system. So we were lucky in that respect. Not easy, still wasn't easy, because we were onboarding people and at the same time trying to figure out 3 specific different POS systems. And then everyone has, like some people write it on paper, some people put it in an Excel spreadsheet. Like everyone's an independent contractor, really, right?
Right.
So they all have different ways of inputting their product or getting their product. And then, data is always an issue. It is for everybody. And so you're trying to cover all those bases. That was the most difficult part of it, was it wasn't even, it was just like, oh, there's another person who has this other thing that they need to do. So we were like, okay, what's the best way to do this? Get them a a file that they can delete, columns that they don't need, and they can figure out ways to get it up into their system. Like, it was a constant, like, reimagining and upgrading. And okay, and I mean, our developer, his list is a mile long every day, and it became exponentially so. He's a genius. Everyone who knows.
Oh yeah.
He is the one. We've worked with many developers over the years. He works for us solely, but he got it. He got the comic business like no one else did when it came to that. So we're lucky to have him. He understands, and he can tell us, no, or this is how I think it would work better. It's really great. And if you don't have a good developer, you're kind of screwed in this business.
Well, we were really pleased because so we did not do the Diamond point of sale system because so I have a military and law enforcement background. My wife was an emergency dispatcher. We were both we met when I was a baby trooper out here, and she's been telling me what to do ever since. It drives me nuts, but I just can't make
And it's never going to end. It's never going to end.
but but the one I could tell you one of the concerns from the shops at the time. Obviously, I'm a straight shooter. If we thought for a second that this was actually happening, we'd never do business with you. The concern from a lot of shops, in particular when Midtown had the other portion, and it turns out now that we've become very friendly with Midtown, especially like on Pop Shop Live and stuff. But the concern wasn't really about the information. That's nonsense. The concern was DCBS, who you were, right? But I understand that you guys have separated, church and state, so to speak, at least on paper, and we can get into that in a sec because we had a couple of questions from our people here, and just to give you some feedback on our YouTube channel, we're made up of a network of it's family here. We've got 3 men in the basement here, spine ticks. I'm sure we're gonna have pressable defects on here in just a minute. We have people. We've got Phil from Comic Talk, these guys are phenomenal shows that are out there. We all had similar concerns, and the concern was DCBS going, now that they own the distribution, like Midtown at the time, were you going to take unfair advantages of ratio variance and special books that using, one of the rumors was, and we know it's not true, but I think that people need to hear it from you, is one of the rumors was that you were going to use our numbers to qualify for incentive ratio variance and stuff. Can you address that?
First of all, I would have never even thought of that. So, like,
you're welcome. I just gave you the scam. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
All the time, like when people come up with outlandish things, I'm like, we don't even I wouldn't have even, and I've never heard that one, by the way, because I've heard lots of conspiracy theories about us. I don't even know how that would work because, like, DC sees all of the numbers. They see exactly who buys what. They see how they qualify. And it's all a formula in the system. And DCBS is a separate company, just like everyone else is. And they're just a customer of Lunar. And just because Cameron and I own it, and believe me, Lunar is our baby now. Like, but DCBS and IST have been our babies for years, but they're running smoothly, as smoothly as they can in a pandemic. We have great people running those businesses for us. And so we have taken a very, we're control freaks anyway. We always have been. But that, no. I mean, in fact, and this is a rumor that a lot of people say too, that, we take stock so that we, if something sells out, that, we take all the rest of the stock. We don't do that. Like DCBS gets orders for pre-orders, and that's what we fill. We don't speculate on anything. We don't buy. We will usually have like a 5%. I'll be totally transparent about this. We hit the deadline for Diamond at the end of, at the end of the month, because we do initial orders. We don't do FOCs. We just never have. So we take our initial order. Our system knows when we run out of those initial orders, and it just places, it creates reorders that we have to upload as we run out of those extras. But like at the initial order, we do add 5% to cover our late orders, because that's generally about what we see in late orders every month. That's it. And then once it runs out of extras, then it just reorders the copies that we need. Like, our business wouldn't run properly if we did speculation on anything. So we don't just order extra copies because we think they're going to be hot. Like, none of that. Like, there's no speculation in any of our business. It's all formulas, and it gets uploaded, and it goes to Lunar. So the fact that anyone would think that we would do that is crazy. In fact, it's so separate that there are times where my DCS CSRs will send me an email and say, hey, they'll have a question about something, and I'll say, didn't you read the email we sent you last week? Like, it's that separate. Like, and then I'll have to tell them, you need to look at the email to see if you put those up on the site. Like, it's not, it really isn't what people think. But the one thing I do want to tell you is everybody gets picked every week based on their transit times. So the internationals, we do have an international team. So that team just picks internationals. Then we have then we have a freight team who only picks freight shipments. It's just easier. They get to know those accounts. They can be a lot more accurate. Then everyone else from day 5s all the way up to business day or residential day 1s, they get picked in order from the day 5s all the way to 1. So I'm sure everyone knows DCBS is in the same city as Lunar. So DCBS is the very last customer picked every single week. Oh, so wow. If something crazy happens, and this has happened a couple of times, at least 3 times since we've been Lunar, where the printer has shorted us a certain number of copies, and we have just shorted DCBS, and then we've gone ahead and gotten the copies from the printer the next week, and then we've provided those to DCBS. There have been multiple times where in a replacement situation, something has happened where maybe there were less damages, or more damages than we had anticipated. Right. And, we don't have the replacements. We will pull them from DCBS stock just to make sure that those customers get their replacements. And we've done that at least a dozen times. Like, we're not going to advertise that, but we do it if we have them from DCBS. And what it might be, the only time we usually have extras is if, like, we just have people who don't pay, which, you get half a dozen or so of those, in a month sometimes. So we do have excess inventory. We don't love it. We don't want it. But we do sacrifice. There have been times, and I'm sure my DCBS customers won't love to hear this, but we only do this if the customer's orders were so late, like the week before, because DCBS will take late orders all the way up until release day, and even after, or especially if it's after release, and we may have to short DCBS 5 copies to be able to cover orders. And that's not, it's very rare that happens, but it's probably happened like a dozen times in the last year.
Well, I think that puts to rest a lot of issues, right? A lot of questions right there. Olivia, you
and
had
I think that's a good segue to go to Phil's question that he had. If you want to scroll up.
Oh yeah, here we go. So that was so Phil, who can you see that one? I've been a happy DCBS customer since 2005. Is there a relationship? I.e., what is the defined relationship between Lunar and DCBS?
Okay, so Cameron and I own DCBS, and we own Lunar. So that is the only relationship those 2 companies have. They all have separate employees. They work in separate warehouses. DCBS and Lunar are there are 2 different Lunar warehouses right now. And so DCBS is in the front of one warehouse of the building we own, and Lunar is in the back of that warehouse. But they function completely separately. They process orders by completely different employees. They pick the DCBS shipment and then they move it up to the front of the warehouse. That's as much as you see on a DCBS relationship with Lunar.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, Lunar's faced like such a growth spurt with us. More comic shops open back up, and you've now taken over for pretty much all of North America for DC Distribution. If we see some growth, a lot of people with the pandemic are deciding to move on to careers they like really care about, passion projects. If we see a big growth in shops opening up, are you guys going to be able to like handle that? Are you prepared for like a big boom like the 90s had in comic shops?
We are, and you would be surprised. For the last month, I think we've opened 30 new shops, like 30 new accounts. Sorry. Wow. We have seen a tremendous growth in shops, and we are going to be able to handle it because we just signed a lease deal, and it hasn't, the announcement hasn't even run yet, but we are more than doubling our warehouse space. We're moving Lunar into a completely new, it's a brand new built building, so that we can hopefully at some point be able to wholesale Marvel. And that is the plan eventually. And we've been in talks with PRH to be a wholesaler with Marvel. But we also will be adding other publishers. And we have about 3 contracts out right now that we're waiting to hear back and get signed for
Wow.
small.
All right,
Well, that
awesome.
goes in perfect to Copy's question.
Yeah, and yeah, he asked this. Now that you have Scout Comics on board, do you plan on expanding your distribution network to more independent comic book companies? I was interviewed by Reggie Collects, representing a new shop up here, and he was asking me about the Penguin deal. And as of right now, I'm not even talking to them because number one, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that maybe Marvel will come to the light and go to. I'd rather them go to you. Because my concern was the discount threshold. You know,
Yeah.
we can't survive on a 35% discount. That's not going to work for us. We survive off of the 50% discount formula. At least I dare say that the majority of shops survive on that. Anything lower than that, you can't offer discounts. You know, we offer military discount. We offer pull list discounts. I mean, because we're Alaska, believe it or not, has the highest percentage per capita of veterans in the nation up here because we have so many military bases. So we want to be able to offer those things. You can't do that if everyone starts, you know, if these publishers start spreading out among 15, 20 distributors and then that discount threshold shrinks. So we're very happy with what you're offering us at Lunar and the fact that you have Scout now. How aggressive are you guys being with getting these other publishers to come around? Because we did see, I know that one of our partner YouTube channels interviewed the CEO of Boom, and they were kind of coerced into I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sure as hell sounded as being coerced into signing a long-term contract with Diamond. So, I mean, how aggressive are you guys in this endeavor right now?
Well, we've had a lot of publishers just reach out. So we've been lucky. So
Love to hear it.
reached out to some other publishers that I can't even talk about.
Right.
Because some of them do have, deals with Diamond at least, for another year or two. And so they really can't do anything really until those contracts are up, because Diamond was very good at getting a lot of exclusive contracts with people. And I'm sure with the PRH thing, they really went to all of their publishers and said, hey, we need you to, we're committed and we're going to do this, and we're going to take care of your customers. I mean, believe me, I was devastated on 2 fronts with the Marvel PRH thing, right? Because everyone knows I'm one of the bigger customers, so like I have the highest Marvel discount, and it's not 50%,
Right.
and I pay freight shipping, and because I sell a lot of independent books too, like my shipping is negligible. It's like less than a percent.
Right.
So there's a huge gap in what PRH is offering, and so I felt that I had wished that Marvel had maybe considered that a little more. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they're going to do what they think is best for their company and what they feel is best for all over stores. So I understand that. But it's still, we're still trying to figure it out, because I mean, we already have discussed it with the current discount. And so are they offering Alaska stores 35%?
No, we don't. We're just hearing rumors because they won't even reach out to us. They've never spoken to us at all. Like you guys with the.
Giving everyone 50 with free freight.
Yeah, that's not what we heard, and quite honestly, we're just. I sincerely doubt that they're going to offer us free freight. I sincerely doubt that.
I was like, just don't count us as international. That's the
Yeah,
only
I
thing
sincerely
can't.
doubt that they'll offer us that. I mean, we may not have a choice but to reach out to them at one point, but I was hoping not to, because I just like dealing with established companies and companies that demonstrate some kind of knowledge in this thing. Because I don't know, we don't know what Penguin has a reputation of damaged books too, you know. And I mean, we look at so we look at the way you guys ship, and this sounds completely biased, but this is based off of actual experience. You're not sponsoring us. You didn't pay me before we went on this damn thing, you know. So we look at your. Go ahead. Do you have to go?
I have to go. I'm so sorry. I've got to get to my job. Christina, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I've got to cut out early, but you guys have fun, make good choices, and I'll catch the rest of this on the rewind.
Never make good choices. Yeah.
Exactly. You and I are having a glass of wine together. I can guarantee that. All right, guys. Have a great night.
All right. So
Later, Amy.
So our biggest concern right now, you know, is sustainability, right? Because well, let me get to my first point. The way you guys package right now, you're literally your team is definitely demonstrating not just a love for the industry, but a love for the product that they're selling, just based off of the fact of how things get packaged. I watched my boxes getting kicked by the mail staff at the UPS store because the box was too heavy. So they're literally, you know, if you see a diamond box and you see somebody picking up a diamond box sideways, you know books are already damaged. That's 100%. A book is bent in half, 100%. When they do that with your books, I just showed Olivia today how the bubble wrap, you've made it goon proof as much as you can, and you know your people stack the books the way as if a collector would do it. So my question would be, are all your staff members readers and collectors? I mean, how did you select this staff, and how did you keep them motivated to produce what they're producing? Because Diamond has not been able to do that since the 1990s. They're still sending stuff looking like they beat it against the wall before they sent it to us.
Well, our staff is taught that the product's valuable. So that's the first thing, right? And that, our warehouse manager is so focused on making sure that there really has to be no follow-up with customer service for those types of issues. I mean, obviously Cameron's a collector, but I also, for DCBS, we're the same way. We've spent years trying to kind of perfect the system. And with Lunar, it was a different thing, right? Because we knew they were going to be larger packages. They were going to be multiple, books, possibly sometimes a full printer box. So that was the thing that took us the most time, was figuring out exactly. We had specific boxes made for that. We had the Diamond 200s is what they called them. And then we took those to our box company, because we have custom boxes made anyway for DCBS. And we said, okay, we need this, but we need these to be like 1.25 inches wider on this side and on this side, so that we can put books. And we figured it out with the bubble wrap, and that's how we did it. But I know that Diamond has historically tried to hire people so that they don't know the value because they worry about theft. And I understand that, but I think that kind of does them a disservice sometimes. I can tell you, but I get my shipments freight. So, I have not usually had an issue with Diamond. I haven't for years. I mean, maybe when I was first getting them and I only got, a box or two. But once I reached a freight position, really it was more like, the freight driver ran a forklift through it or something like that. And sometimes per piece, because like we would have reorders, some of those were in the box and we were like, oh my gosh, who thought that was okay? But I think that they were just picking things so fast that they really, if you don't have that attention to detail, and we just train them that way. Like, they just have to know what a damage is. And if they don't, they're not going to last. They just aren't going to last with us.
All right. Well, that's critical for us, because we just lost a customer because of for instance, their mislabeling of books, that Carnage, black, white, and red. they labeled everything the Eastman variant when it was actually another one, and it just aggravated customers and all kinds of stuff. So it's very comforting to know that your staff understands the value of the books, understands that it's understands it's a valuable commodity, and the fact that Diamond is notoriously using or selecting people that don't know the value of books. I think that's nonsensical. It's from my military background. I can say this. I can say that there's two types of people in business or in military service or paramilitary service. You have your leaders and your managers, okay? And for those of us that understand that, and I feel like you truly understand that, there's a difference between the leader and the manager, a significant difference.
Absolutely.
So, what do you, well, number one, which are you? Are you a leader or a manager? I think I know the answer to this one, but what would you say you are? And I hate to put you on the spot like this, but I like difficult questions like this.
I'm definitely, it's funny, there are people who are only leaders and only managers.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, I've been a manager. I'm just a manager. I know how to manage people. It's funny, my daughter's in tennis right now, so I'm going to use this analogy because I just recently started working with a fitness trainer because, this business has not been good to me, like stress levels, whatever. I'm getting ready to turn 50. I got to start taking better care of myself. So I started seeing this fitness trainer, and our youngest, Karis, because we have 4 children, Karis is in tennis, and her coach is just horrific. He's not a coach. He doesn't coach the kids. And so we would go to these meets, and he would bring them to the fence, and I could hear him talking to them, and he'd say, "That was a terrible game. That's the worst game I've ever seen." That's it. He wouldn't actually say to them things like, "Okay, I see you're struggling here. What I'm noticing is when you're serving, you're bending back, or whatever." Like, that's the difference between somebody who can coach, which is also managing, right? And then somebody who can just lead a team to go to the courts and not actually show them what they're supposed to do, and help encourage them. And tennis is great. I played it in high school. I loved it. I was doubles player. My daughter's a number 1 doubles player. And so I know that I can help her, but I just have to help her after the fact. But when I was talking to my fitness coach about it, he said, that's exactly why you could coach, because you know how to manage people. You know how to motivate people differently. And so, our managers know how to do that. They know that there are people who you can yell at them, or not yell at them, but just get really firm and almost angry, and it motivates them. But you also know the people who, if you do that, they just fold in and they can't work for you. They can't do anything. So you have to find those people, and you have to do that. If you can't motivate different types of people on your team, you're never going to have a strong team. It's not possible. And our team, when I was talking to one of the publishers a couple of weeks ago, our team is like a family. And and by the way, there's family that works for me. Like my children, my oldest manages our DCBS warehouse. Her husband manages the Lunar warehouse. And they're phenomenal. And they've been with us for years and years, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're young enough that they know, how to. They're old enough but young enough, right? So they can lead people, but they can also manage them properly. And we are a family business. We always have been, and all of our children have worked for us in some capacity at some point. But it's important to look at people and say, okay, this person does not do this well. How can I help them? Or how can one of my managers, who is very good at explaining detail, or who can maybe give them a different attack, come at it from a different angle to help them explain something so that they understand it. And so I think I've always been that type of person. I've always been the problem solver and the person who can. I'm the oldest, by the way, of 3 girls. I'm the one who, my youngest is the baby, and she tends to be emotional, and she'll even say that to me. And then this middle one is really strong, and and there's always conflict. And I'm the one who always tries to kind of bring us together, and I'm always the diplomat in the situation. And so I've done it from when I was young, and now I just do it in my own life and my business life.
Well, I'm laughing to myself 'cause I'm like, you just described all the attributes of a leader. So, so because I've seen, I've seen the difference, and I've seen when people just stick to the management. When I'm talking about the management, I'm talking about the numbers and and that's critical too. We need that also. Every business needs that. But I feel like the reason that your competitor is failing is because this individual has surrounded himself with maybe they're yes people, or maybe they're just stuck in an era and they've never progressed. They've never moved on to the next, to understand people like Olivia, to understand our younger staff here at the shop, and to understand our younger customers. And now I also understand what you're talking about. How this this business does wear you down. I'm actually 22 years old.
Wait a second.
No, I just turned 51, but there's days that this place makes you feel like I feel a lot older. But there's, I've been spitting this quote out for a couple of weeks now, because I just heard it was on the documentary about comic book shops. If you watch Comic Book Country, My Comic Book Country, that is such a phenomenal. It's a documentary. It's called My Comic Book Country, and it's on Amazon.
Okay.
And the guy who directed it, his comic book shop closed down, and he's just talking about the whole industry. So he goes from shop to shop, talking to all these different shops, while also telling the story of his shop and how it affected him and how its community and how critical it was. And one of the people that he interviewed, and by the way, he went to different types of shops. So like he went to a shop that was kind of like ours originally. We were actually on the second floor of this building where we're at. So it felt like almost like you were going to a secret club to get into our comic book shop. And now, because we have some of our key customers, like Austin, who I believe is in the chat right now, he's wheelchair bound. So we needed something where he could come in and have access, and we basically deputized him as an assistant manager here at the shop. But our big thing watching this show was these different shops. They all had the same complaint about the one distributor. All of them. I think there was like 9 shops. He had Torpedo Comics on there. He had Newtown, The Cave in Newtown, Connecticut, which I believe is the LCS for the Three Men in the Basement there. There was all these different shops from all over the nation. They all had the similar feelings about, community, how, this business is nothing like any other business in the world, where you want a book, you got to order it 2 months in advance, that type of stuff, which already adds a challenge to us.
Yeah.
And then
You know nothing about it other than what they're telling you, right?
And
Yeah.
so the problem with this business, and this goes on to what I've been rambling on now, is that comic book shops literally can make you cry, and at the same time bring so much happiness all in the same day. And
wow.
I say that because, and I agreed with this guy in this documentary, because you start establishing relationships with people at the shop. I used to be a trooper. I was a sergeant with the Alaska State Troopers. I have customers that come here that I've arrested before. This is like Switzerland here. It's everybody gets a second chance here. No politics allowed to be spoken in the shop. You want to argue about Iron Man versus Batman or Moon Knight? That's fair game, And people come here and you start establishing these relationships. You start to learn things about people and what their motivations are, and what they see as a superhero, or what they see, as the conflict between good and evil and everything else. It becomes community. It becomes like a Cheers, an episode of Cheers every single day. And when their books come in damaged, or when their books don't come in at all, or when their orders are just completely just wrong, and it's not anything that you as the shop did, but it was the distributor. It's somebody outside of your control. It just stresses you out, because you're constantly apologizing for this third party. So that's why we count on people like you
And not
who
just that,
who are similarly motivated to get things
right.
right.
But they also, like, after a while, you feel like they think you're lying to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, I swear to you, we've had this issue with a Dark Horse book trying to come in, and like they will email customer service, and customer service will say, "Well, we were shorted again this week," and that they're starting to not believe us, and we're like, "Really? We are." And there are times where we'll actually have to email Diamond and say, "Can you do a bin check on this?" Because every week you say you're sending it to us and you're not. And so we think that, it might, and there have been times where they say, yeah, it's not there. Like
Right.
we think it's there, the system thought it was there. So I understand. And that's the other thing. There are two things that my employees fear me. Okay. If they screw up a customer's order, or if they cost me a lot of money by screwing up that order. So those are the two things. Because there are times where they send something to an international customer that's very wrong. Not very wrong, but like very wrong to them, which can be three things. But
Right.
we had early on, we had an incident where they sent somebody like 3 additional omnibuses, and they were like in Australia, and so we just told them to keep them because they didn't want to be billed for them,
Right.
and we still had to give them freight credit because they paid the extra amount, even though they just got 3 $125 omnibuses. Free, essentially, they still wanted a freight credit. So we did it because that was the right thing to do. My employees know that that's a big deal for 2 reasons. We just shorted the entire inventory 3 omnibuses that we could sell to other retailers. And then the other thing is that it costs us a lot of money, and the amount of money that it takes, and Diamond will tell you this distribution, it's not a giant money maker. It's a very small margin, and so you mess those margins up, right? So you really need to be super accurate. You have to be super accurate with everyone. But that's why we said, okay, with international, you need this kind of, for lack of a better term, elite team. The whole team is elite, but a team that's very aware. We have certain international customers who only order hardcovers and trades. So there is a person who takes care of that customer every week to make sure, it's as accurate as possible. And so we do go above and beyond in those respects. Now, you also have to consider we only have DC and now we have Scout, but we don't have 70 publishers that we're dealing with. So, we want to make sure that we can continue to do this, even one day when we have 70 publishers. We haven't had 30 years to work it out. So we're hoping that you guys give us a little time. We're going to do our best all the way through. But,
Right.
We plan to build on what we have, and we feel that our systems are really great in just even within the warehouse for pick and everything like that. So we know we can do it. It's going to take some time for us to build it and, to add people and get things right. And a lot of these smaller publishers, aren't on FOC. So that's even a learning curve for anybody, like when they have to have books to us by, because that's one thing as a distributor that I'm not going to tolerate, and that has always bothered me about Diamond. And it's really it's the only thing, is that they will allow certain publishers to be so late with their product. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the customer. It's not fair to the retailer. If you say that you're going to have this book in, then it better be in on time, or at least within a week or 2. I shouldn't be waiting almost a year for a dynamic forces book that you solicited, to just be signed, that we know released on time. Those are the things that shouldn't happen. Then they should be canceled, and I shouldn't have to worry that they're going to show up 2 years later and I'm going to have to pay for them.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because I know on one of our podcasts we were educating people on what FOC was, that it actually came from, it's essentially from case law where Marvel and Diamond were sued. And I think Diamond, what they forgot to mention was, yeah, it was just Marvel and Diamond that were the defendants in that, but the findings apply for everyone that is similar. So essentially, whether it be DC or Absolute Comics or any of these other publishers at any time, the retailers could go back, file another lawsuit, and cite the same case law. And for those of you that understand courts, I used to answer to the Chief Justice here in Alaska, so all I did was hear case law all day. I was in charge of security at one point with the troopers for them, but that's another story. But the big thing was that as judges love established case law. That would be an easy win. So you would think that Diamond and their staff would just be like, hey guys, let's just make this easy. FOC, if you can't make FOC, we're not distributing for you because you're just going to upset everybody. Or give realistic deadlines.
Yeah, but do you notice that they re-FOC it? So it's like,
yeah,
if you don't FOC it every month, that loses the purpose of it. And those are specifically with dynamic forces. That just drives me crazy. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the other thing. We don't FOC. So we just sit and wait. Like, I'm not going to check the FOC every week to see if, DF Batman #1 that came out 3 years ago is on FOC again. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, we just got a DF Batman, and on top of that, it was encapsulated backwards, so we're not even doing that anymore. We've shown that at we've exhausted everyone with that one. But Olivia had 2 questions.
Oh, right. A little bit more lighthearted. We've talked a lot about how you've been growing, you've been prepping for growth, you're doubling your warehouse space. How else are you preparing for the potential demise of Diamond? Because honestly, you guys are kicking their butts in a lot of regards, just from an outside perspective, it seems.
I have a lot of friends at Diamond, and I hope that there isn't an ultimate demise of Diamond, because I have worked with them for 22 years. I love them. I know they care as much about the industry as I do. We are always concerned. I mean, I can tell you right now, I don't even know how many publishers they have. I'd have to go into the DCBS system and look it up. They have a lot of publishers that and because DCBS is so big, I mean, we at least probably sell 5 copies of every single book that they even offer, right? So like, it would be very difficult for DCBS to deal with the demise of Diamond. We want Diamond this is the thing. I want strong distributors so that they can continue to make me competitive. If we don't, like, PRH has made me even rethink, okay, what do I have to do even better? What are they doing that retailers are really not, which, by the way, there's no way we can do free trade. That's just not even an option for us. We looked at the numbers and we were seriously like, is there a way? No, there's no way. So we have to figure out, we have to be the best. We have to make sure we get things there accurately in the best condition possible. And that's, the best that we can do. We are working with DC right now to do a new store program. We're working with DC to do, like, fun marketing things that are going to help grow the industry, hopefully, right? Because that's the key. That's what all of us want. I hope that Diamond figures it out. Maybe with the loss of Marvel, they can sit down and they can regroup and they can say, okay, these are the issues that we've had, and now that our 2 biggest publishers, aren't being, and they're still going to distribute Marvel, and there's still going to be a lot of stores that probably still get Marvel through Diamond, but it's going to be a lot less. The bigger accounts are not, because PRH is probably going to give them a better deal. And a better deal in that it's just 50% and free shipping, because I don't think Diamond can offer free trade as well. But my hope is that they sit down and they say, okay, now that we've kind of, shrunk, let's do this. Let's get it right. Let's figure it out. Let's make, create some solutions here so that we can, continue to have a competition here, right? I think that's what's great about comic shops too, is like, I always get upset when I hear comic shops say, well, they're my competitor and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what makes us all better,
right,
is having competition and making sure that we're doing right by our customers. The majority of my customers are customers who don't have a comic shop within an hour and a half of them. And there are a lot of those customers. And some customers who just, their comic shops have treated them like garbage. And so they've come to us. And we try to take care of them as well as we can. And yes, you're going to have people who go to us just for the price, but they may not be buying comics at all if they had to pay cover price. I don't know.
Right.
So there's so many customers out there. We need to figure out how to get more of them, not fight over the ones everyone else has. That's the
Exactly.
We had a question from Mark Clayton. Olivia, if you want to field
Sure.
this one.
With Marvel's move to Penguin, do you think that there's opportunity for them to expand and having Amazon distribute comics for them? And how would that affect you guys?
I don't. Amazon doesn't want to mess with comics. They don't. The margin is so low, and we care more about the condition of the product that we get. If you notice recently, since the pandemic, if you look on Amazon for collected editions, they're barely discounting them. And what that means to me is that they're tired of having to replace them all the time because Amazon isn't great with packaging. But they don't want to have to change their processes, and there's no margin in $3.99 comic books. There just isn't. I truly don't believe that's Marvel's goal. I think that Marvel saw DC leaving Diamond, and and I think one of the big reasons they didn't come to us is because we own DCBS. No one has told me this, by the way. This is just my pure speculation.
Right.
But I think they didn't want the backlash from the retailers, and they thought, okay, we're going to go to this book distributor who has, a reputation for at least taking care of the independent bookstores. Now, that's not to say, and this is what has surprised me, is that retailers haven't thought, oh, now that PRH has the direct market business, what if now they start selling them to a bunch of independent bookstores? Like, it's funny that they acted as if we were a conspiracy of like trying to take all their business, but they didn't. The first question wasn't like, wait, they have thousands of independent bookstores that they could be selling comics to.
Yeah, we had people give up there was we had one conversation one time among the channels where it was coming up that you may see comic books back in gas stations and everything else, and I answered the way I thought was correct, which was I 100% doubt that, and the reason I doubt that is because Joe, who's there to get his Newport cigarettes, is not going to give you the time to go in there, look through the comics, and ask questions about comic books. And it's not the same model as it was, in the 80s and 90s, where it was a great place to introduce comic books to new readers. That's just, that environment's not the same anymore, especially, and now with the new, with many of the COVID restrictions and everything else. And hell, I grew up in Queens, New York, and most of the grocery stores, the bodegas and stuff or the places that I went to get newsstand copies, they all have bulletproof glass now. You can't even get to the books. You have to tell the grocery attendant to go grab a book for you and slide it through the glass. That's not happening. So we don't see that happening ever again. It's going to be comic book shops and maybe some form of online distribution. DCBS has been a lead in that for years, my understanding, right? Midtown online sales. We're trying to jump into it the best we can because you guys make us better. I feel that we make our competitor better, Bosco's and Randy up in Fairbanks. I think that we lit a fire under their asses because they were the only shows in town. So here we are, and we're here to stay. So I get that competition makes us better. That's the best language that people can use if they're trying to survive in any industry. And I also know that the new books, the new titles, since there's no true profit margin, that just gets people into our shop where we're making our money is the back issue bins. If we can get people to come into the shop, get hooked on the books, and then want to take a look at where these stories historically came from, that's one way of getting them, or to reconnect with their parents and their parents' heroes and stuff. That's how we sell it at our shop anyway. We kind of embrace kind of the torpedo comics model in many ways, but I mean, the other thing that we'd like to see from, like, for instance, DC is more of these kids books, like that Scooby Doo, Batman, and that kind of stuff. That stuff is just fire in the shop because the kids books fly off the racks. Let me see. Here's a lighthearted question, real quick. Stephen M. Who is your favorite pro tennis player?
That is so funny. My favorite pro, I just talked to my fitness coach about this. My daughter's is Roger Federer, and she loves him. We've watched every YouTube, whatever. Mine was Mats Wilander. Now, no one probably knows him unless they know tennis in the late 80s and the early 90s. But he was my favorite. I cannot remember if he was Austrian, I believe. And he was my absolute favorite. And no one knows him. But I would literally sit in front of the TV, before streaming days, and I would wait for one of his matches to come on, and you couldn't get me away from the TV. It was crazy. Yeah.
It's funny. We have oh yeah, that's true. Shauna's correct. Shauna's one of our team members. She's like, hey, adults buy these kids comics too, which is true. I mean, but we also have let me see here. We have Tony Trombetta. He owns EGS, a grading service. He's the CEO, founder of EGS, and he created that based off of the fact that he was upset with how the industry was handling grading books. He was upset with how CGC and even CBCS was handling the grading of books. So he decided to start his own grading service and provide the services that he would want to see as a customer. And as a result, I mean, you got CGC now hiring more graders, and you've got CBCS. They teamed up with Beckett, and they're beefing up their game. Both companies have now started developing better cases. So yeah, competition makes us better. Now, Olivia, you had another question for her.
Oh, right. We've already talked how you're looking to expand. You're in some talks with people already. So you are prepared to accommodate more publishers, right?
Oh yeah.
And like, what does that look like on your end? Like, what's internally going on when you're prepping for more?
So usually what happens is they'll reach out through the service at lunardistribution.com email, and then the CSRs they know to forward those to me. And then I'll just ask a couple questions. I usually ask them to send physical submissions just so that we can consider them. And if they're already being distributed through Diamond, I will even go into the DCBS system and just see how we're selling it. Because that's a great tool for me to find out how well it's being received just by like a fairly large customer base. Then we'll set up a Zoom call, kind of give them the deal. It's not a difficult deal. The only difference is that we don't do like a buy sell proposition like Diamond. Like they all own their own inventory and they're on FLC immediately, and they just email me. We do the Zoom call. If they have questions or more questions, they do a follow up. And if they're interested in working with us, then we send them like a draft contract to look over. We chat with them about any questions with that, and it's pretty simple.
Here's another tough one, Olivia.
Oh, are you planning on starting an online pull box system?
Oh, she hesitated.
No, we're not. I mean, I'll be honest. Everybody has so many different systems that I think it'd be difficult. Not just that. I think the distributor needs to provide the service of making sure you're aware of all the books that are available. You can easily order those books. You can have as much information as we can be provided by the publishers, so that you can make those decisions well, get them to you in a great condition, allow you to give you as many tools as we can to be able to help you make those decisions. But when it comes to like the pull box thing, to me, that's like a business's thing, right? Because everybody has a different idea of how they'd like it to work or what would work best for them. And it would be almost like trying to create a POS system. which I don't want to do.
Gotcha.
Because it would be too difficult. I think that there are ways, and by the way, this is something that I know Diamond did. They've had a lot of problems with it, not on their end really, but they had a lot of problems getting, Marvel wouldn't even, I think, sign up for it. Um, and they really wanted all publishers to be on board. It would be something that absolutely, if we had a huge, like, this is what we need, this is the way that it's going to allow us to make us grow, it'd be put on the list and we try to figure it out. But right now, I don't think that's the biggest thing that shops need. I think shops need to have really good product coming into their stores. I think it needs to be on time. I think it needs to be at the right price. And I think that they need to be given as much information as they can get to make those choices, and to bring it in front of their customers and really like, like Batman Fortnite would have been great if we had another 2 or 3 weeks to really kind of get a feel for what our customers wanted so that we could have made a better informed decision about how many we should have been ordering.
Okay. Yeah, oh yeah, that was another one too, that Fortnite. But
Oh man, I haven't even heard about this one.
oh, thank God. Oh, thank
Well,
God.
that makes me scared now.
Thank God. That
There were some people in the industry, though, that were telling everybody not to order it. So I think that was the biggest problem. So they
right.
were just saying, hey, that's not important. That's kind of like a that's dumb thing. And it's like, wait a second, Fortnite is literally the largest, crazy,
Yes.
whatever. It took over the entire nation over the last few years. Why wouldn't you just ask your customers about it, right? And be like, hey, what do you think of this Batman Fortnite? But I think that we probably could have done a better job, and I'm saying we as a collective DC Lunar,
Yeah.
um, of making that um, sale better, right? And making the opportunity or our perceived opportunity. But I know that I know how this is because I've been doing it a long time. You hear that from everybody. Oh, this is the next greatest, biggest thing, and
Right.
you're right. Like it's like everything's the next biggest, greatest thing, right? I mean, you hear that from everyone. You hear that from Image and Boom and Dark Horse, and so it's hard to kind of finagle through all of that and figure out really what your
Yeah. I think the execution on that was a little weak just because like Shauna pointed out, you got a free skin in Fortnite if you purchased the book. That would have been, had we known that, oh Lord, we would have been, we probably would have quadrupled our order on that because we have so many Fortnite players and that have been sweeping through the shop. It drove me crazy. What hair I had left is gone now. That it's gone. Uh, It's a
I think
cool problem though. That's a good problem. Okay, that people are
right.
still interested, and that so I try not to be so negative because number one, it ages you more, and
Yeah,
this should be a happy niche. It really should, right? And so that is fantastic news that so many new readers are excited about that particular about jumping into the book for
exactly.
what us hardcore readers sometimes are like, that is absolutely ridiculous. That storyline's ridiculous. But they don't care about that. They want the free skins. They want to get in that book. They want to see how it relates to the most popular video game on the planet right now.
I'll admit, I'm intrigued and would pick it up.
Yeah.
And I don't even play Fortnite.
Yeah. It's just crazy stuff like that.
It's crazy. I tell you, I had actually it was my doctor who I'm friendly and good friends with, and her daughter is a friend of my daughter's, and she said to me that her son had it was like $150 worth of Fortnite upgrades like a year or two ago. Like she didn't know. He got a hold of her credit card. Those kids, it's like crazy. So isn't it perfect? You get them, hooked on Batman, and there you go. That's all you need to do.
It's like printing money. It's like
That's
printing money.
absolutely.
It's printing money.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
But it works. I mean, we joke about it, but the fact that I've got hell, we had personal family members that are like, and it's the typical, which I love because now that I'm a granddad, it's the okay. I need 3 copies because we have 3 boys and they're not going to share. So I need 3 of them. And that's actually really, it's not because, and it wasn't I need 3 because I need 1 to keep and grade and I need 2 to, 2 to flip on eBay, which is okay too, man. Make your money and then come back and spend those profits back at the shop. I'm cool with it. But it was kind of cool to see the old school problems. Yeah, the kids are going to fist fight if I don't get 1 for each of them. So I'm going to need you to get me. And that's why we're excited about the second and third and fourth prints because they don't care.
No,
They just want the book, right? But
and they want. That's right.
yeah, the other thing that we're appreciating right now on your website is for us anyways, the video trailers. Keep those coming, please.
Well, okay, that's all DC. Like, I mean, we got it set up, and so we made sure that DC had asked us that was a little stumbling block that they had with Diamond, and I think it was just to be able to serve it and have it. And I'm sorry, my dog is being an idiot and barking in the background.
Oh no worries, no worries.
But when DC came to us and they said, "Hey, we have all these trailers, we'd love to," and we were like, "Yeah, we've been begging for this stuff, let's do it." And we're going to offer that same opportunity to anyone who is a publisher and wants to put that type of stuff up there. We'd like to really kind of build that out. We also have an idea, and it's going to be up soon, where all of the previous newsletters are going to be up there. So you're going to be able to because we ourselves, when we had a meeting with DC, we're like, we have to go back to our email and go, which DC Direct channel was that? Where they said something about a change or this or that. And so we're going to make sure that's up there so you can reference things a lot more easily too.
And where are your distribution centers right now?
They're in Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Okay.
the big state of corn. Super exciting. So yeah, no, we own a building downtown, and that's where the original Lunar started. And then because of the expansion, and once we took over the rest of the UCS customers in January, we moved into another building that was it was the same size. And we moved into that last October. And then now we're still bursting at the seams. And then we're saying, okay, we're going to get ready. We want to wholesale Marvel. We're going to add some more publishers. We've got to have more racking, more this, more that, which is why we're doubling our space. We're tripling our space for Lunar. And it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
But it technically will be in New Haven, Indiana, which is like a suburb of Fort Wayne.
And now, it was on the tip of my tongue. So we're getting ready to go into Comic-Con seasons up here. We're actually hosting one here in Wasilla. And what are you guys considering or thinking about doing some type of retailer conference, either virtually or otherwise in the future? Or is that something on your minds, or is that far into the future?
It's definitely on our minds, but it is far into the future. For 2 reasons. The first reason would definitely be COVID and how all of that is going to change everything like that. And the second reason is that, that is a huge undertaking. I would talk to the Diamond employees, and it's an exhausting and sometimes like it's a very defeating type of thing.
Oh, because they're just receiving complaints for like the whole week.
Really just get beat up the whole weekend. And we're willing to take, punches, but we really want to make sure that we've done everything. We've been able to really implement all the feedback that we've gotten at a certain point, and we feel good, and we feel like we're really rolling with it, and we know. And then we probably, it'll be more. It will probably be a much less formal, but it might be something like, kind of like what the Diamond Breakfast used to be like at New York Comic Con or their lunch at San Diego. It wouldn't necessarily be a full-fledged weekend initially, but it could be something where we say, hey, we're going to have this get together and we'd love to, chat and be a little less formal and really give you, to take your feedback and be happy to have you beat up on us a little bit. But we have thought about it, but we just haven't thought in like greater terms of like an actual summit.
Yeah, because I was thinking that, as if you're wearing your DCBS hat, you probably could care less about your competitor's demise. I'm not saying that to be malicious. I'm just factual, right? Hey, that's one less person to compete with. That's on them for being idiots. Da da da. But the problem that I'm seeing right now, and it worries me, I don't want to see the shop numbers drop below 2,200. When one or two of my customers come in here and they start talking about how they're excited about potentially starting their own shop, I actually get excited for them. But I wish that I had the time to sit down with them and teach them about business and teach them about all the do's and don'ts about opening up a comic book shop. I mean, we plan on doing a little series here at the shop about talking about what it's like to have a shop in Alaska with shipping and everything else. But the big thing is, unfortunately in this industry, a lot of your shops are run by introverts. They're run by collectors that never get out of the collector mindset, and they forget that they're in retail and customer service first, collection second. And it would be nice at one point to see someone in the industry step forward and say, hey, you 2,200 shops that you're currently in business, we want to keep you in business, and we're going to offer these workshops or whatever, even if it's for a fee. Well, they give you one more write-off, right, for the IRS. But to see something like that, some type of mentorship program within the industry, because I once again, I want to see these shops grow. I would love to see 13,000 shops like in the 1990s, because that would keep me. I mean, I'd be going Super Saiyan here, competition wise. I mean, you think we're crazy now with YouTube and stuff? I'd be doing Evil Knievel ramp jumps in the parking lot to get customers to come in here. I'm not kidding.
TikTok dances, man.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, I'm already working on my TikTok stuff and all that stuff. But yeah, but but you know what I mean, to get people to step it up, to get
Right.
excited about the industry.
Well, I will tell you, as DCBS, I don't want any shops to close. And the reason I don't is because, generally speaking, when those shops close, those customers just go away.
Yeah.
They don't usually look. So I don't, because I want the industry, I want to be selling, I want everybody to be selling a ridiculous amount of comics, right? But the other thing is, we did in the new store program that we've been developing with DC, it is really important to us for new shops to have, and what we called it so far is just like a welcome packet. But with that welcome packet is things like, are going to be things like, this is how FOC works. And this is what you want to keep in mind when you're budgeting your money for, your month. And when you can expect your, because the biggest thing is, you're right about introverts. The other thing that you didn't mention, which we have found, is that these are people who really don't know how to run a business. It's not their fault. They're so passionate about it that they think, well, I can just figure it out. It's just some numbers, like I know how to keep a checkbook. But it's things like, what happens when, a water main bursts in your shop and you're in for a week, or in front of your shop, or something crazy happens and you don't get your shipment for 3 days, and then they all go to another customer. Like, how do you create relationships with those customers, which is difficult for introverts. So, and by the way, how do you find employees if you're not good at it that can do that for you? So we do want to help shops that are new to do that, but you're right. There are a lot of existing shops that need the same thing. Right. We also need to try to figure out what their mindset is, because there are a lot of shops who order very small quantities of DC product, and I will see it and I'll think, so what can we do to get them to order even 2 more copies of each of those books so that they can sell them? Are they only buying for their subs and not putting anything on the shelf? We're constantly in talks about that. I'm trying to figure out how to make these shops reach that next discount tier. We want everyone to be at the next discount tier. We don't want anyone at that low discount tier, because we know they'll be more successful the higher their discount tier. But it's the never ending, I guess we'd all be, living on yachts and buying our own. Figure that out, right?
Right.
True.
No, I think one of the things is that people, when they get into this business, that they have to realize, yeah, it's the customer service, the figuring out the orders. I think one of our secret weapon right now is our friends on these channels. I'm not kidding about this. Lords of the Long Box, Cover Price, they're not speculating, they're actually reporting actual sales of books, creating that excitement, giving it is mandatory in my shop that all of my employees watch Lords of the Long Box. They have to watch Three Men in the Basement. They have to watch Spine Ticks. They have to watch on Sunday. I'll help out. Sometimes I'll guest host on Sparks Comics because he does an FOC for indies, in particular Scout Comics. And this is the first, we do this because we try to spread that to the customer base to open their eyes to go outside of their comfort zone. They've been looking at the, Marvel because of the movie success, but they didn't think about picking up that Scouts comics. They didn't think about picking up Department of Truth. They didn't think about picking up Berserker or looking at from DC, trying to get kids into the book, although it's kind of a little older kids, but nonetheless, was it Super Sons, watching that relationship with Batman and Superman's son and how they relate and how they're viewing life and everything else. And, those shows, as they're doing their little reviews of these books and stuff, that's the kind of stuff that gets people excited. I have customers that come into this shop because of Comics Explained. Comics Explained is the largest. Him and Variant Comics are the two largest comic book YouTube channels on YouTube. They all have over 1 million followers. Comics Explained, he sits there in this awesome voice, by the way. He has the most awesome voice, and he reads, he kind of gives you a summary of every book, but he does it in a way that excites you to get the book and want to read it yourself. And then you've got Variant, who does reviews, and he's the number one guy. I think he's like almost 2 million followers. And if you watch it, it's very professionally done how he does it. It's not like this clown show that we do here. He's like, but I mean, they're a legit comic book channel, like many of our friends here too. But these are the guys that people are coming into the shop because of these YouTube channels. So that's why if you come into our shop, we're always playing YouTube on our TV because people, what's that? Oh, what book are they talking about? Because we're trying to get them to broaden their horizons and look at other books, to look at, the newest stuff that DC's putting out and everything else. So because people come in here with one thought, typically Avengers or Scarlet Witch or, Winter Soldier, Falcon. That's what they're looking at right now. And then it's our job to be salespeople and to open their eyes up to the other titles that are available. And we appreciate that you've embraced your job of getting those books to us in a condition that we can actually sell them. And we really appreciate that. And the opinion of many people that have been looking at Lunar from the outside is that you guys are staffed with comic book lovers, just based off of how your stuff is packaged and how you guys deliver things. And we really appreciate that. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask, or?
Not offhandedly, but everything that I came in here to ask, you were right on it. You got right to it. So, hey.
We appreciate. Do you have any closing statements for us? Anything you want to promote? Anything you're endorsing? A charity? Anything you want to talk about? The floor is yours. Whatever the hell you want to say.
Well, I don't endorse charities, but I am an animal lover, so please, and a planet lover. So, I do want you. Anyone who hasn't had a chance, I'd like someone to watch anyone to watch the documentary "Kiss the Ground" because it's amazing. And it actually opened my eyes a lot about just farming in general in the United States. So that's kind of been a thing for me. Even in my own warehouse, I try to make sure my employees are using as many of their own water bottles and not plastic, etc. And then as far as the animal lovers go, just please neuter and spay your pets, and make sure that you're going to those shelters because they have sweet angel babies in all of them. And just don't go to pet shops that use those mamas as farms. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We know that your time is very valuable. I was going to steal my boy Roger Levesque's line, which is that time is valuable, and I'm butchering his line, but it's essentially we understand that it is valuable, and we appreciate that you were willing to give us some of that, and we're very appreciative of that. And we hope that you and your staff will take a look at that one documentary about my comic book country, because you're going to get that perspective from every single type of comic shop owner in the nation, which it's almost like taking a tour of every comic book shop.
We communicate through a Slack channel, so I'll put it on all the warehouses, and I'll tell them to take a look at it. They are all comic lovers, even if they didn't start out as one. Now that they're with us, we've turned them all into comic lovers. So
It's amazing how they can just grab you, huh?
Yeah. We got her hooked. She had never read a comic book a day in her life. She shows up here.
I read one comic book when I was 4 years old, and then nothing for about 12 years, and then now I have a collection of almost 1,000.
Well, I had never read a comic until I met Cameron, ever. And we started dating when I was, 19, I think, yeah. And the first thing I read was Miss Tree Quarterlies, which I wish those were still in print. Those were phenomenal. A woman that was a detective. It's great. They were true crime, which is another passion of mine.
Ooh, love
And
that.
then the next was Preacher.
Oh God,
Yeah.
what start you? We have
A jump.
Yeah, oh, that's a jump.
My favorites. Preacher was because it was like so iconic to me, because of just where I was in my life. I think, I don't know, it was weird. I read Sandman, I read Transmet, but still to this day, one of my absolute favorite Vertigo titles is Scout. That one is one of my absolute favorite to this day. So
Awesome.
I'm kind of old school. Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much. Thank you guys, everybody. Make sure that you tune into Spine Ticks, which should be going right now on their channel, and the links to all of our friends is in the description below. The link to Lunar Distribution is in the link below, so please make sure to visit the Lunar Distribution website. Please use that website to see what is coming up next in the DC Connects, so that they're your source to find out what is new from DC and Scout. Check them out, and then support your local comic book shop. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time. We out. Let's see here. Boom.